Greetings! I hope that you've had a blessed and joyous holiday season. It's December 30th, 2019. It's hard to believe that in just a few days it's going to be the year 2020 on the Gregorian calendar. As I promised in a previous video, I am going to show you how I worked the thumb hole on the Pearl Soho cabled needle arm warmer. I'm also going to show you how to pick up stitches and how I picked up a drop stitch. You can find this arm warmer pattern on Pearl Soho. I will include the link at the in the comment in the about this video section. Also, I look forward to reading your comments, questions, or even if you just want to say hello. I hope you enjoy. Hello, welcome. I'm Angel. Today I'm going to be focusing on some thumb holes that I'm knitting on arm warmers that I've been making. I want to share some ways that I have found to make the process a little simpler for myself. I also found a sticky situation that knitters may find themselves in that will require some critical thinking and just being really careful to watch what stitches you're picking up. I hope that this may help you in some way. Thanks for watching. These are the arm warmers that I've been working on. And I'm working on the thumb hole now. As you can see, I've already picked up my stitches here. I used a knitting repair tool to pick these stitches up. I'll show you how I did that in another section of this video. Right now what I want to focus on is these stitches here. To hold these stitches, I used a different color of yarn so that I could tell the difference of what was happening, so I wouldn't get it mixed up with the stitches that I wanted to hold. I'm going to flip these around here. So I had 14 stitches that I was holding with this gray yarn. I have 7 stitches on this needle, and I have 6 stitches on this needle. When I got to my last stitch over here, I noticed something. What I noticed was it looked as though the stitch that I wanted to pick up was this stitch. However, this is not the stitch that I want to pick up. What has happened is in the process of the stitches being held, which is exactly why we want to use a stitch holder in case this happens. One of my stitches slipped back through. So if I picked up this stitch, I would be picking up the stitch that is actually under the stitch that I want to pick up. So what I need to do is I need to pull the stitch back up. So what I'm going to do in order to get that stitch back up where I need it to be to pick it up, I'm probably going to use this to get it picked up, and then I'm going to put it on this needle. This is a cable needle. These 2 needles are also cable needles. I've found that using cable needles are easier for thumb holes, working thumb holes, than the regular size needles because they're smaller and it's just not as fumbly trying to work with them. So I'm going to get this up here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to pull this yarn out of the way. This is yarn that I used to pick up stitches, and it's my new yarn that I joined. So So I need to pull the appropriate stitch out so that it can be worked. This right here is the stitch that we want to pick up. So I'm going to lift the yarn, slip the needle through that stitch. It's kind of tight because it slipped through. There we go, I got it. Now I'll work it through this little needle, get it up there, slip it out. Now I have all of the stitches that were on the stitch holder up on needles. I am using cable needles because they're shorter. They're about the right size that I need circumference wise or gauge wise for these stitches. I had to pick up stitches on this side and I used this tool here. It's a 3mm repair tool. It has the knitting side on this side and a hook on this side, so that if you drop stitches it just helps picking them back up. But I did, since it's just such a small section of stitches, I was only going to pick up 4 stitches. So I just use this to keep it simple and small. When I start knitting, however, I will be using the green cable needle. It may be a little awkward because of this part here, but it'll still work to do what I need it to do, and I won't have to be fumbling around with the long needles. Now that these stitches are up on needles, we can pull the thread through that we had used to hold the stitches while we were working the palm of the arm warmer. So we'll just pull that out like that. Ta-da! All done. Now, and I have the green cable holder on so I can use it. This is from Knit Picks, the Knit Picks cable needles, and this is a Brittany cable needle that I'm using. This arm warmer, I held the stitches differently. I used a stitch holder for this set of stitches, so I shouldn't have the problem that I had with the other thumb of having to pull up a stitch that went through. But I want to show you how I decided to pick up my 4 stitches on this side. We're going to use gray again. This color is called Elephant. So I'm going to use my repair tool. And I want to find the best place to pick up the stitches so that it looks like it's just continuing in. And the way I fixed the holes on the other mitt to where you wouldn't see the space is after I finished in my ends, on the back side, I used my darning needle and put in some invisible stitches on the back side to fill that in. So we need 4 stitches. Gnats are really icky today. So what I want to do is I'm going to start up here. So we want to pick these stitches up to where it just looks like it's continuing. This is where we're going to join our new yarn that we're using. I like to give myself a pretty fair amount of tail so that I have enough to work with to work in the ends. I like to work my ends in really good so that I don't have stitches coming undone through wear and tear. So we're joining the yarn. Oh, look at that. Look at that. There's one. Oops. Let me back up a little bit. There's a little bit bigger space than I want here between the stitches. So, I don't know if you saw what I did, but I had a little bit of a gap there because this was purled and I bind it off there. So I'm just going to pull that through. And it just closes up that space. It looks nicer, cleaner. There, first stitch. Look at that. Looks like it's meant to be there. And I'll center up the camera there, so. Now what we did, we're going to come back over here. We only need 4 stitches. And we're going to pick up this knit stitch here. Make sure that we have the right end. Don't want to do the tail. Then we have another one. I'm going to do that different. It looks awkward. So I'm going to use the other leg of that knit stitch to do that so it looks neater. And we'll try it again. Get that out of the way. Let's see how that one looks. Yes, it looks like it's supposed to be there. It'll be a twisted stitch though, so we'll have to turn that around when we come back through knitting. Or I could do it right now. Voila! Looks like it's supposed to be there all along. We need another one. So I'm going to go into the post of that knit stitch, pull that on. See how that's loosening up there? If I have a good enough tail, I can just snug it back up. There we go. So we have 3 stitches on there now. And I can hear my husband in there ready to go backpacking tomorrow. It's his day off. He has Monday off, so. Oh, look at that big hole there. I don't want that there. So here's what I'm going to do. Similar to the last time, I'm going to find a, there we go. I'm going to pull that through. Oh, that looks so much better. And I'm going to flip that around right quick so it doesn't end up looking like a twisted stitch. And come on, flip around. Please. And get a hold of it. There we go. Now we got it. And I'm going to pull that through. Look at that. I'm going to pull that snugger so you can see. Look at those picked up stitches. Does that not look pretty full? So now we'll put the stitches from the stitch holder onto the needles that I'm using. Once again, I am using cable needles because they're shorter in length, but they're right. They're the appropriate gauge for this.